This little video is about how I sew up the toe of the sock. So this part here is the toe. So what happens is you're picking up stitches from along here and along here to join the toe together. So when I do my toes, my joining up seam is underneath the foot. Other people do on top of the foot. That's just a personal preference, what you want to do. So, and so this is why I leave a fair amount of scrap yarn on here, because if you only have a tiny bit and you're moving things around, there is a chance that if you don't have enough scrap yarn, the stitches will start running into the work. So, and this is why I do the stitch markers in the end, each side of the toe. Here and here on the working stitches. So when you finish your sock, also I'm left-handed, so don't know how that'll work with people that are right-handed looking at it on the screen, so we'll just see how it goes. So that's your waist yarn. Put that in there. So by having a contrasting colour for your waist yarn, that's a good contrast that allows you to see the row of live stitches that you need to pick up on each side there. Now, I probably leave a bit too much for doing the tail, doing the stitching up, but I'd rather have a little bit more than not enough. Having not enough still isn't really an issue. You can just add some extra. Okay, so I'll show you what I do. I tend to like to use these types of pointed needles. It just helps pick up a bit better for me. But whatever preference, darning needle you want to use, point but not really pointy. All right, so what I might do is zoom in a little bit there so you can see that. Is that close enough? Right. So I'll get my little stitches out of the road so you can see it a bit better. So what I do to start with, I sort of do a little bit of a circle here to pull it all in. So I tend to go under this little stitch. Then swirl it around a bit under this one here. Just trying to make sure my hands don't get in the road. And up through this first live stitch. And I just make sure I push down that waist yarn. And pull it through. Then this first live stitch, I go down and then up under this bump. Can you see that? Yeah, up under this bump. it through. Then on the other side, I go down this first one, then I go up this second one, and that's where I pull it tight, so that will help pull the corners of your toe in a bit. So then moving on to the next, so you're always going down the stitch that you've worked, then up the next stitch. Then on to the next one. So we're going down this stitch and up this next yellow stitch. Trying to make sure you also don't pick up any sort of strand of the waste yarn. So once I get enough there, what I then do is take my little pins off. So you put the pins in just before you start cranking off. You crank off a few rounds of the waste and then put the pins in while it's still on the machine. So now that I'm got rid of those, I'll slide this down a bit. It now allows me to sort of hold it like this and then go down the stitch I've worked, then up the next one. So the further you work your way along, you'll then start seeing it grafting into place. Down. And then up. And you just keep doing that all the way along the toe. Yeah, so the better the contrasting waste yarn colour, the easier it is to see those stitches. So as you get along, you see how it's all working and matching up. So I'm left-handed, so for right-handed people, you'll start from the opposite end. So I'll keep working along, and then when we come to this end bit here, your last ones is making sure you stitch through each one of these ends to secure them, and then you feed the end of the yarn through into the inside of the sock and pull it tight. So that's how I stitch up. Down. Oh, am I too close? Down. up, down, up. It also helps to have a good light when you're doing the work. So I have a little lamp, work lamp stand that I stick beside the lounge chair and stitch up the socks. Now see how I've picked up a bit of the strand underneath there? So now that's what you want to avoid, because when you finish, you grab the other end of the waste yarn. Now, have I hooked that with that or not? No. You grab the other end of the waste yarn and roll that up and unravel it to reveal the stitched up toe. And if you accidentally pick up a bit of the waste yarn, it won't unravel as easily. And I mean, you just use the scissors and cut that bit of waste yarn away. So can you see that? Sometimes I'll just sort of rejig that down a bit so it's easier to see, and then just hold it and down and up. Okay, so then you see how it's all joined up there. Right, I'll stop that there and then start it up again once I get to the very end. So I've just continued along the row, stitching it up, grafting it together. And so as you get to the end, it does get a bit trickier with getting to the live stitches. And again, having the definite contrast in yarn helps a lot. So what I do here, it's my cat that's just come through the door, is I sort of push my finger underneath the scrap yarn so I can get better access to those stitches. Down, up, down, up. So now we're at the last two. So what I'll do here is I'll go down and up underneath that last one. Pulling it out a bit, making sure I've got. Now, if you find you come to the end and you've got an extra stitch, that just means you've made a mistake somewhere earlier. But you can fudge the end so you don't actually have to go back and unravel everything. It's basically making sure you pick up and lock in every live stitch. we want to go underneath there. Then that one. And that means you're at the end. So then what I usually do is I will take that and hook it under. Pull it through. And then I go in, open from the inside of the sock. Oops. And if that end stitch feels a little bit loose, I might go underneath that a second time. Oops, I can lose my... And then just at the very end, push it through to then come out the other side. And then take these out, pins out. Now this is your loose end, so I'll just line that up. I mean, you never really waste yarn when you're doing socks because you just reuse the scraps over and over and over until they just start worn out, and you just, I guess you could compost them if you wanted to, but I just throw them out. Okay, so coming to the edge here. Now, if you haven't caught up any of the scrap yarn, it should pull through quite easily. If you have caught the scrap yarn up, that's still not an issue. Now look at that, jinxed myself. Okay, so cut that through. Pull it this way. Okay, scrap yarn is done. Oops, I moved over too far. Okay. So that's the row that you've grafted together, just along there. So you're not getting a bump that will irritate you underneath your foot. So even if you did it on the top, you still wouldn't get that type of bump. So then what I do is turn it inside out. Where's my needle gone? Okay, so then And this is the way I do it. Other people will do it a different way, weaving in the end. I mean, you could weave it through here if you wanted to, but I tend to just go up the side of the sock. Let's see, just picking those bits up. Just picking up the inside stitches. Because once you wear the sock for a while, you wash it, wear it, you don't notice any real thickness that affects your toes or anything. I go up a little bit more. And then I'll come back again, just weaving it under. It's nothing fancy, pretty rough, but it does the job. Those that are really good stitches will probably have a conniption with me doing it, but that's how I do it. And then trim off. And then once that's all done, pull it inside out and the sock is done. I always wash and block my socks because socks are done under tension, so it's a bit like when you do weaving. It doesn't really give you the true form until you wash them, and I have a number of just cheap sock blockers. So once I wash it, I put it over a sock blocker and let it dry. Yeah, so because it's under tension, once you take it off, if you want to just get it so it all settles in nicely, washing your knitted sock and blocking it works well. Same with your knitting. If you want your garment to look better, then washing it and blocking it out so it's nice shape. Once it's dried, it looks a lot better than if you don't do that. Also with washing, if you're going to give your socks away or anything like that, or sell them, you might have a little bit of oil from the machine come onto the sock as it goes through, so just washing it will fix that right up too. So that's it. That's what I do to finish the toe on the sock.